temple from the other high priest family, right? But that's not going to happen now. It's going to happen in the future when the Jewish people are very successful, which I already told you is later on in the times of King David. But God says that the sign that is going to happen is that your two sons, Hophni and Pinchas, are going to die on the same day. That's what we know so far. Now, Shmuel is now going to be given a prophecy. All we talked about yesterday, I think we got up to Pasuk Yud Aleph, right? Where after three times, after three times, Eli realizes that it's God talking to Shmuel, and he tells to Shmuel, next time God calls you, don't come running to me, but tell God to speak, because you're ready to hear what he has to say. That's what we got up to yesterday, Pasuk Yud Aleph. Vayomer Hashem El Shmuel, page 10. Got it?
Another one.
Oh, you don't. I used to.
I just have my one.
Oh,
Yours?
that's not your book.
Could be that Monty's got yours.
It's stealing mine.
Is that yours?
Yeah. Dylan's pictures are priceless. He doesn't want them. Don't trust me with it. Okay. Vayomer Hashem El Shmuel. So this is God's message to Shmuel. God says to Shmuel, Hine, behold. Usually Hine is something which is somewhat of a surprise. Right, when I behold, something I never expected. Hine, behold. Anoichi. Anoichi is a way of saying I. It's a little bit more of a stress than the word ani. Ani means I. Anoichi means I. I, as opposed to somebody else. Okay? We're on page, you got the line?
10.
The line, page 10. Yeah, just above the halfway line. I, oise. Oise is the present tense of to do. I am doing. Okay? He isn't actually doing it now, but he's in the process of doing it. Davar b'Yisrael, something in Israel. In Israel doesn't mean the country. No, the country is never called Yisrael in the Tanach. It's only a modern name, right? It's called Eretz Yisrael, right? It means the people. Yeah, Yisrael in the Chumash means Eretz Yisrael. It means the people. I'm going to do something in the Jewish people. Asher, that. Kol shom'o. Anyone who hears it, who hears about this happening, Tetzilena. Tetzilena shtei oznov. So shtei oznov is easy. Shtei means two. Oznov are his ears. Right. Oznov. His two ears will something. What will they do? So let's see the word tetzilena. It's a difficult word. Right? Obviously the root is tzadi lamed something. Okay? The others are tough is a prefix, meaning she or you. The nun hey at the end is a suffix meaning she or you in the plural, future, feminine. The feminine over here is ears. I don't know why ears are feminine, but they are for some reason. Like every noun in Hebrew is either masculine or feminine. But it's not like English, it's like French. Okay? You see from the word shtei that it is. You see from the word shtei that is feminine. Okay, tzitzilena, something's going to do to the ears. Okay? It seems that the root is from the word tzelil. Tzelil means to ring. Okay? That means when a phone rings, it's mitzaltzel. Mitzaltzel when phone rings, right? So tzitzilena shtei oznav. His two ears will ring. Now ears don't actually ring, but it's an expression which here expresses shock. Yes, we're not. Yes, it doesn't mean that, right? It doesn't mean richly the ring. It means you'll be completely as if there's a big noise going on in your head to the extent your ears are ringing. Okay, I don't know if you'd say that in English is such an idiomatic expression, but that's what it means. It means anyone who hears this story that's about to happen will be in absolute shock or horror or something like that. Okay, it's an extreme reaction. By Yomahu, on that day when this story, I didn't tell you what the story is, but on that day when this story happens, Akim, I will establish. It's from the word kum, which means to get up. But this is a causative. I'm going to cause something else to be stood up, which is to establish. Something's established, it's fixed, permanent in position. I will establish El Eli, to Eli, who is the high priest, as kol asher dibarti, everything that I've spoken. Because I've already spoken about what I'm going to do. I spoke through the prophet. Okay? So on that day, when this awful calamity, tragedy happens, that will be the beginning of the establishment of what I said I'm going to do to Eli. So I've already said I'm going to kill his two sons on the same day. That he already knows. Okay? But that's not like news. I mean, it's tragic, but it's not going to make everyone's ears ring. Something more is going to happen than just that, right? We haven't said what it is. Okay. El Beisai, to his household. So on that day, when this awful news happens, I will establish that which I said will happen to Eli. Hachel v'chalei. Hachel means to start, like latchil. V'chalei means to finish. Well, I'm not going to start and finish on the same day. It means I'm going to start it on that day, but it's going to go from beginning to end. Everything that I said will happen will start on that day.
So no one knows what the prophecy that God was telling Eli? Only Eli and the prophet knows about it?
Presumably.
Okay, so he didn't even tell his kids at this point.
I
Or
presume no. Shmuel doesn't know. Right.
Is that allowed to be though? Like,
Why?
Contrary, you're not allowed to sell prophecy unless you're told to say it.
Oh, interesting.
It's a secret. That's why when God tells Moshe Rabbeinu, it says every apostle, "Vayidaba Hashem el Moshe Lemar." What does Lemar mean? I give you permission to say, even though it would seem obvious that it's meant for the Jews, right? Commandments are meant for the Jews. Still, if I tell you to say it, you don't say it.
So in this situation, Shmuel is not being told by God about the prophecy. So that means he's allowed to know about it. Is he allowed to tell Eli that he has?
I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm not sure. It's a good question. I would have presumed not, but you will be able to see from the story that my presumption is wrong.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So on that day, when this awful news happens, I will then establish that which I promised I was going to bring to Eli and his household, from the beginning to the end. Higadeti lo, and I will tell him. Now that means through my actions I will be telling him. I'm not actually going to speak to him. This will be telling him, right? You can, actions speak louder than words. By doing this, I will be telling him, Ki shofetani, that I judge es beisai, his household. You see, you notice the difference between ani and anoichi? The previous said I, said anoichi. Here it says ani, I. So it's not the same stress. You have to say the word I because it's God doing it, but God doesn't say I'm doing it as opposed to anybody else. That's not what he's trying to stress. I don't know why it says it. I'm just explaining that's what it means. Ki shofetani, that I am judging his beisai. He'll know by doing this. He'll know that I'm judging them ad olam, forever. Well, he doesn't know that I'm judging them forever, but I've already informed him that this is forever, and now he'll know the judgment is starting. Ba'avon, because of the sin. Asher yoda, what was his sin? Asher yoda, that he knew. Ki mekalalim lohem bonov, that his sons are mekalel, cursing. Now, I don't know what the use of the word lohem. Lohem means to them. Yes, that's what it means, but you don't curse to yourself. They are mekalalim lohem. I would say mekalalim. That's cursing. Mekalalim lohem, it sounds more like reflexive, but that's what it means. That they're cursing, his sons are cursing, the like ki habam, and he didn't. From context, it's clear it means to rebuke them. He didn't, right? He doesn't discipline. This is the expression we use when in the Seder night. On the Seder night there are 4 sons, and one of the sons is the Rasha. And it says, Va'af ata, when you hear what he says, Hakei es kino, shinov. It means to blunt his teeth. It means you should take his statement, which is very heretical, and blunt the effect of his words. He's saying things that other people in the room will say, oh, that's shocking, right? How can anyone possibly believe that? And so you should diminish the effect of what he's saying. So it's the same word used. Something like that means you didn't turn down their actions. You didn't
keep them doing it.
Yes, you just let them get away with it. So this is what's being held against you. What's being held against them is they get punished for, right? Okay, that should just be a person. Why is he being punished? He's been punished that his sons are dying. You see, when a person's sons dies, that's punishment for 2 people, right? The person who's dying, if he's an adult, and it's the father, and all the descendants of Eli are also being cursed, right? So what did Eli do? What Eli did to deserve that was Eli's compliance, his very weak reaction to them.
Was there halachas before this about how Eli should have reacted? Was he aware of it? Like, was there a certain guideline?
Well, I don't think there were any halachas about
So he didn't
some things are obvious.
So what would have been the obvious thing to do in this situation for Eli that he didn't do? Just kick them out?
No. Even Goyim understand that if you want your children to grow up nicely, you have to want them
to slap them up in a situation, or you kick them out of the
whatever, I don't know. We weren't sure yesterday what they should have done. Something should have expected them more than just saying, no, it's naughty what you're doing. Shaul HaMelech says, he who spared the rod, Spare he didn't say it exactly like that. He said, spare the rod, you hate your child. So a rod can mean physical, right? Nowadays it's not so politically correct to be physical, so there's other ways, but it's meant somehow or
Don't
other.
try being all old school.
What?
Don't try being all old school.
You take it your own way. I used to get walloped in school. I told you my dad.
You used to. Are you walloping others?
No, that's
Is it
because I teach.
effective?
That's because I teach adults.
Is it effective?
I teach adults.
So if we were kids, you would have slapped himself a little bit.
I wouldn't be allowed to. I get put in prison.
Your children?
My children got walloped, sure.
To what age?
I don't know. I mean, my wife claims that some of them never got walloped. But no, maybe once. Understand? I'm not talking about the whole time. I didn't do it when I was angry with them. I was told my father walloped me once in his life. My father walloped me. He was certainly old school once, but that was
Gentle
effective.
parenting is more effective.
It was gentle what?
Gentle parenting is more effective.
Ah, yeah.
Way more.
He doesn't believe in that.
I don't know. We have to see the results and compare them. Yeah, I can see.
I mean, look at Aish. All the
Yeah, I
students.
can see. Yeah. Okay. Some other time we'll discuss that. Okay. Now, either way, Shaul HaMelech knew what he was talking about. The question is, what does it mean? You know, a rod doesn't necessarily mean stick, right? A mark can be discipline. It can be relationship. There's lots of ways in which you should apply the idea. But certainly, Eli seems to have not done it properly. Yeah.
I was gonna say the rod is probably bare minimum something that would affect them in a way that would teach them a lesson beyond just like basic words.
Okay. But again, we don't have to judge him. God judged him, so God understands that he wasn't doing what he should have been able to work out his own would have been effective. And therefore, the reason for that is because I suppose because of his also lack of appreciation of what they were doing, right? It wasn't just lazy. It was maybe he was. I don't know exactly what the source of his lack of involvement was, but it certainly created a big chilul Hashem. Okay, so God is saying that to Shmuel. Now Shmuel doesn't know that God has spoken to Eli through the prophet, and he hasn't made it clearly. He hasn't made it clear what he's doing. He just says he mentions his sons. He knew that the sons are cursing me, right? And they're not literally cursing me, his sons, right? It's just the way they do the temple service is a show of lack of respect. Now the word lekalel is from the word kal, which means to light. They're treating my temple service lightheartedly, and I'm going to do to Eli what I promised I'm going to do. Yes.
Actually, before we got to that part, here, sorry, I'm just going to show it to you here because it has the numbers. Right now, number 13 and number 12 it says, "Against Eli, all that I spoke concerning his house."
Correct.
Meaning, he priorly spoke to Eli.
Correct.
That would imply that so Shmuel should know that he spoke to Eli prior.
No.
But the wording implies that he already spoke to him.
No.
No,
It implies that he's telling Shmuel that he'd spoken to Eli.
Yeah, so that Shmuel should know that God spoke to Eli prior.
No.
Why?
He's telling Shmuel that I spoke to Eli privately. I mean, Shmuel doesn't know that. Now he knows it.
Yeah, now he knows.
Now he knows, for sure. Now he knows.
Okay.
Sure.
I thought you were saying-
Explicitly.
Okay.
No, I'm saying is that he's now being informed.
Okay.
V'lochen, therefore, nishbati. Come on. Nishbati, what's a shavua? Swear, very good. I have sworn. Lebeis Eli, concerning the household of Eli. Im yiskaper. Now get this in your heads. Whenever you say the word im after an oath, it's the equivalent of saying in English not. The word im doesn't usually mean not, right?
Usually means
It only means if. But this is the way I was taught in the school. This is where everyone translates it. I'll explain to you in a second why it means that. Im means not. Means I have sworn that the house of Eli will not be yiskaper, be atoned. It will not get atonement. Avon beis Eli. Avon means the sin. The sin of the house of Eli will not be atoned to the house of Eli. Bezevach, through sacrifice, ubemincha, and through meal offering. That means a flour offering. There's two different types of sacrifices. One's an animal, one's a flour offering. Ad olam, forever, until ever, whatever, and forever. Okay. What's God saying? God's saying is the sin of the house of Eli is not atonable for. Yiskaper is like Kippur, Yom Kippur. There's no atonement for the house of Eli. That's what God is saying. Because of their behavior, because of the way Eli reacted to their behavior, therefore I've sworn that there will not be an atonement. And that's the end of God's speech. Right? So God didn't go into detail what's going to happen to Eli, what's going to happen to the sons of Eli. He didn't go into a lot of the details, which mostly was said before. Only God's added one thing to Shmuel, that on the day that I start this happening, some tragic thing is going to happen that is going to cause everyone's ears to ring. Okay, all the rest is really well known, not to Shmuel, right? It's well known to Eli. Eli knows that this is because of his son's behavior and the way he reacted to his son's behavior, right? And God is informing Shmuel of that. There's nothing new about that. It's new to Shmuel, but it's not new to our knowledge of the story. The way we've read the story, so we already knew that. The only point being added is this tragedy that's going to happen. Now, I'm going to take a break over here to discuss the long-winded way of saying what God said. If God really meant that there's never going to be able to atone for the sin of Eli,
You would just said stop.
he could have just said, therefore I swore that there will be no atonement forever for the house of Eli. He didn't. What did he say?
Through sacrifice or through...
Or through mincha, right? So those are two extra words which don't seem to add anything. There will be no atonement through sacrifice and through mincha.
But there's other ways of atonement, aren't there?
Yeah,
Very
but
good.
the Shuvah is different.
Very good.
Remember, according to
No, that's not good enough. No, I hear your point, right? Yeah, you're trying to say that maybe what it means to say, sacrifice isn't enough, but tshuva is.
Yes.
The reason why I don't think that's a good answer, although it sounds good, is because whenever you bring a sacrifice, you need tshuva.
You need
So-
Shuvah prior to being able to do a sacrifice.
Correct.
So in this situation-
Therefore, there's no need for God. God hasn't adding anything by saying there will be no atonement through a sacrifice, because there's never atonement through sacrifice,
Okay.
unless you do tshuva. So obviously God means there will be no atonement through a sacrifice and tshuva, because that's what sacrifice always means. It never means just a sacrifice on its own. So it looks like God's saying even through tshuva and the sacrifice it won't work. So then what is he saying will work? What could possibly work if tshuva and sacrifice don't work? So the Gemara Rosh Hashanah says, is bothered by this nuance, that there's some way that there will be a kapara, right? And it was understood as follows, that the two methods for atonement for the house of Eli are through Torah and through chesed. It means although just being a better kohen and showing your respect for the sacrificial process, which is great, right? Which may be tshuva, and it may be an atonement in the sense that it will get you into God's good books, but it won't affect the curse on the house of Eli. The only way to change it is through two things. Now, the reason why we assume there's two things is because it specifically says, not through zebach, not through mincha. So it says two words to imply that there are two ways which you can. So the Gemara brings a story. Two rabbis, great rabbis you've probably heard of because they appear on almost every page of the Gemara, called Abaya and Rava. Right? They are descended from Eli. So that was like, we're going back 1,600 years, approximately, the times of Abaya and Rava, who were in the times when the Gemara was written, a little bit before. Okay? So they were like 1,500 years after this story. Like halfway between now and this, about 3,000 years ago,
Isn't it
approximately.
Hillel and Shammai? That's something else.
What about them? They're also great people.
Aren't they the ones that mentioned in Gemara all the time?
No, they mention the Mishnah all the time,
Oh, the Mishnah.
right? This is on the Gemara, right? Those who learn about Mitzvah, right? Yir Shalai Midas. You did that at the beginning of Elam Mitzias. Yir Shalai Midas. So a debate between Abaya and Rava. Almost every page of Gemara has got a debate between Abaya and Rava. Sometimes they agree, usually they disagree. Okay? Usually Allah is like Rava, seldomly Allah is like Abaya. Whatever. Abaya and Rava were both descendants of Eli. And they knew this. And they both did, besides being great teachers of Torah, dedicated their lives to. Rava dedicated his life to teaching Torah, right? And he was granted an extra 20 years. He lived till he was 40. Apparently, the house of Eli used to die in their 20s, early 20s, where they just like got married, and obviously must have got married, or they would have died out very quickly, right? Must have just been, you can get married when you're 12 as well, okay?
Sure.
But they got married when they were 18, so they had 1 or 2 kids, and then they would die, right? Rava dedicated his life to teaching Torah, and he lived till he was 40. Abaya also, besides doing that, also was involved in chesed, and he lived till he was 60.
That's a charity.
Right? So you got an extra. So that's what we learned. That both of these concepts will help the house of Aish. So my sons told me, I've never met this rabbi, I don't know. There's a guy called Rappaport. Now the Rappaports are Kohanim. All the Rappaports you know of, I'm sure, are Kohanim. There's one famous. You got a Rappaport who's a Kohen?
Well, she died a bit ago, but yeah, he was
Right.
my
Okay, Rappaports are Kohen. It's a very famous Kohen family, very miyuchas. Miyuchas means they can trace their ancestry back to Aaron. Okay.
Well,
I mean, if you can't, then you're not really a Kohen. But I mean, they actually, obviously, every Kohen claims to be descended from Aaron, but they can actually trace it back through the ancestry of son of son of son. That doesn't itself prove it, because somebody could have been raped along the way. There could have been, on the women's side, you never know whether they were actually fit to be Kohen. Whatever. That's their claim to be very purebred Kohen. Okay. So the teacher in my son's yeshiva, he claims that their family are descended from Eli, and this is a thing in their family. Their ancestors, they're young. I don't know exactly how young. So he decided.
20.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, he decided to dedicate his life to teaching Torah free, hoping he would get both things with that. Understand? Because he wasn't just teaching Torah; he was also doing a chesed. He was also involved in chesed. Now he had to teach Torah and not take any payment for it. Anyway, he's still going strong. Well, I don't know how old he is, but he taught my kids in yeshiva 10 years ago, and he was probably about 40 at the
I think
time.
the Rabbi Rappaport, he was very big into both Torah and Chesed. He died in like 60s, I think.
Okay. Now, I don't say all the Rappaports are descended from that. I don't know. They're all. I don't know if they're all descended from that. I don't know. No idea. And this Rabbi Rappaport claimed.
By the way.
Yes.
Yeah,
Are the
my,
men that died,
my
right?
principal was a Rabbi Rappaport.
Yeah.
And he was at least 85.
Oh. Is it only the men that die early, or it's also the women from Eli's?
Only said the men. Because
Okay.
women not really a kohen. They don't really pass that on. Pass on to the Okay, let's continue. Vayishkav. So that was the end of his conversation. Vayishkav Shmuel, and Shmuel lay down. Now that could mean he went to sleep, it often does. I have reason to believe that it doesn't. First of all, because I find it hard to believe that hearing that information you'd be able to sleep, right? But that's just a guess. But look at the text. It says like this. Vayishkav Shmuel ad haboker, he lay till the morning. Yiftach, and he opened as dalsois beis Hashem. Yiftach is to open, like the word petach, and delet is the door. So he opened the doors of the house of God, which is the job of the Levium. One of the jobs of the Levium is the guard duty. They're on guard, they open the doors, that's one of their jobs. So that's what he did. That was his job. It doesn't say he woke up, does it?
No.
Usually it should have said he lay down, he woke up in the morning, woke up early in the morning. That's what it usually says. That's why I think that he never went to sleep, so he didn't have to
Sounds
wake
like him
up.
laying down, judging based on the last time it said when he was laying down, right when he had his first prophetic thing,
Yeah.
was that laying down is like putting himself in a thinking mode, or maybe
Could be,
something like that.
could be. Only last time it said the word Vayishkav several times. And I said once it said Vayishkav bin Komo, I wanted to say that means he lay down without going to sleep. Right, the once, right? But it could be every time it means that. I don't. Anyway, here I think it's clear that he didn't go to sleep, because it doesn't say he woke up. Vayishkav Shmuel ad haboker, vayiftach es dalsois beis Hashem. Ushmuel, Yarei, Shmuel was, Yarei, scared. May Hagid, from Hagid, no,
The teacher,
no,
like Magid.
yes, Magid is not a teacher. Magid is a storyteller. Storyteller. Like on Seder night, one of the 15 things, Kadesh, Urchat, Rachas, Magid. Magid is when you tell the story on Seder night. So Magid is a story. But here the Mem is not the word Magid. Mem is from Hagid, from telling. So he was scared from telling, Es Hamara, the vision, L.A. That's very interesting. It doesn't say the prophecy or the message or the words of God. It says Hamara. Hamara is the word to see. So it looks like this strengthens the idea of Maimonides, who claims that prophecy was always a vision more than a audio. It wasn't something that you heard. Even though it says God said as follows, it really means that the prophet interpreted his vision as follows.
Could be both. It could be.
It could be. I'm just saying what the Rambam says. The Rambam says Moshe Rabbeinu was not like that. Moshe Rabbeinu was per el per. That's what it says. Mouth to mouth. What is mouth to mouth? Mouth means just like when I speak to you, it's very clear. So Moshe Rabbeinu was the same. Rambam says, as opposed to other prophets, where it was a vision.
Vision.
Right? So it's hard to see how that Rambam fits in with all the prophets where there are so many words. Right? The prophecies are written. They're not written in visual because the prophet want you to understand the vision. So he wrote what God said to him, but it was really, according to Rambam, his interpretation of the vision. So the vision wasn't like your machine when you speak, it has words. No, it wasn't that. It was he was shown a tree with the wind blowing in a certain direction, and he understood the direction it was coming for, and it represents this, and he understood the message and he wrote it down in words that you and I can understand. That's how I understand what the Rambam's saying. Okay? Now, here it fits in nicely because it says Shmuel didn't want to tell the vision to Eli, which would fit it. I don't know if it's proof, but I think it supports the idea. So he was scared. Why was he scared? So it certainly looks like that he had permission to say it. Because if it was forbidden for him to say it, he didn't have to be scared, it would be forbidden.
But he also knows that Eli also already knows about this.
Correct. But that doesn't that itself would make him permitted. I think that it was understood he was supposed to tell it to Eli, because that's why God told him. God didn't tell him this for no reason. He wanted him to tell Eli this information. Although it's a bit funny, what more information is Eli going to find out? Eli knows it all already. Although, like we said, there's a little bit he doesn't know about how tragic the day this is going to start.
Also, he doesn't know that Shmuel is supposed to know this, and now he'll know.
Yeah, what will that do for Eli? Now I know Shmuel knows, so now why I'm trying to analyze why would Shmuel assume that he's supposed to tell this to Eli if God didn't tell him explicitly, tell this to Eli? And as far as I know, if God didn't tell him, he had no right to tell him. But it looks like he was supposed to tell him because it says Shmuel was scared. Sounds like that otherwise he would have told him. So I don't know. But it looks like he was supposed to tell him. Okay. Vayikra Eli es Shmuel. So Eli called Shmuel in the morning. And he said, Shmuel b'ni, Shmuel my son. Again, he doesn't always call him Shmuel b'ni. Remember, even in the night, the first time he called him Shmuel, next time he called him Shmuel b'ni is like words of encouragement, of affection, closeness, put your arm around somebody. He probably can see that Shmuel is shaken, hesitant, scared. Something Shmuel needs. Yeah? Shmuel b'ni. Hineni. That's his answer. Hineni means I'm ready to do what we want. What is the thing that he spoke to? He didn't say who. Right? Even though Eli presumes it's God, because we told him, right? But I don't know why he didn't say it. He should say, right? Maybe it will be maybe it was an angel that spoke to him.
Where's he?
Diber. He spoke.
Diber, maybe that spoke.
No, it's not
Can't
Diber.
translate to that spoke?
No. You would say Dubar, Nidbar. You have to say it was spoken. Diber means he spoke. Asher Diber Elecha. But it could be he wasn't sure that it was Hashem. Maybe it could be an angel. You can have a prophetic vision where it's not God speaking to you, but an angel speaking to you with Daniel. The whole time the book of Daniel is full of angels speaking to him. It's not God speaking to him. I mean, not that I know the difference, but there is a difference. Sometimes there's God, sometimes there's an angel. So maybe Eli wasn't sure. So
The word of God, though.
What?
It doesn't make a difference because it's all the word of God.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just speaking for accuracy, that's all. Okay? What is the matter that he spoke? Al no techached. No means please. Al means don't. Al, don't. Please don't techached. Techached really means to deny or to withhold. Right? I think deny. It means to deny. It means don't deny in the sense don't hold back anything that he told you. Mimeni. Now this I'm in shock. The next line. Ko ya'aseh lecha elikim. So God should do to you.
Well,
V'ko yosif. And so should he add on. Mean, and even more. Im techached mimeni. If you deny or withhold anything from me. Davar, anything. Mikol davar. Be surprised a second. From the whole matter, Hashem diber elecha that he said to you. Look, I know you don't want to tell me. I know you're scared to tell me, right? But Eli is trying to put pressure on Shmuel to have him tell me every single last gory detail that God told you. I want to hear it all.
so Eli knows that Shmuel was told a bad vision, a negative one. Otherwise,
Well, he's not silly. He doesn't know,
But
but he's assuming that this is strengthening the message he just got from the prophet. Remember, Eli's got a prophet, and now Shmuel's all of a sudden got this message, and now God didn't come directly to Eli. Right? God's giving this message to Shmuel. So
has Eli ever had a vision?
I didn't know. I heard somebody who claims that Eli was a prophet. We got the art scroll. Pass me the art scroll. Chumash there. At the back, there's a list of all the prophets. I know that Eli was the leader. We've seen that, but he actually was considered a prophet. From me. Here we have on page 2048. I think it is now. Somewhere here.
What is Shmuel supposed to do in this situation if he wasn't allowed to tell Eli?
If he wasn't, then he wouldn't have told him.
So that would Eli's curse still be in effect?
Probably
because
not.
it's
No,
because
you can't expect a person to Eli says,
God,
yeah,
yes,
Eli.
God, 'cause God
The
is
Scottish person, it's like you don't listen to your parents when they tell you to transgress the Torah. If you're not allowed to do something, you're not allowed to do it. It would seem that Eli understood that if God gave you a message, it was for me to hear.
Yeah.
And I suppose Shmuel understood that too, and Shmuel was scared to tell him. And Eli said, you don't tell me, God do the same to you. Now, I'm shocked. Like that's the way to speak to people. That's the way to put pressure on someone. I mean, maybe you ask nicely. I mean, why go in for the kill straight away? Why not say, please tell me? And Shmuel says, there's no indication in the story that Shmuel hesitated or he said, no, I'm not telling you. It doesn't say that. It just
It also doesn't make sense because he initiated the conversation with like Shmuel and he like all nice and then he immediately changed his attitude.
Yes. I mean, maybe you have to add something into the story. I don't know. You know, that Shmuel didn't tell him and he refused to tell him. I would expect that that's an important part of the story, but I don't know. Anyway, it's scary. Vayagid like, so he told him. Vayagid like Shmuel, it's called advarim, the whole thing. V'loy kicheg mimenu, he didn't withhold anything. Didn't hide nothing, told exactly what God said. So what does Eli react? What can he say? Not much. Yeah, the truth isn't so much new in the story.
What was the prophetic vision?
Yeah, God told Shmuel that what he's about to do to Eli, but all he added to the information that he has is that something tragic is going to happen on that day.
To who?
Doesn't say.
But
Something tragic is going to happen
It's gonna ring.
to the point that everyone who hears, their ears are going to ring. It's tragic. What it is, I don't know. Obviously, it's something national. Because otherwise, people who are close, people who are related will. No, everybody who hears this who's going to be in shock. So that's shocking. But Eli doesn't know what it is, and I mean, maybe they don't. It doesn't tell us what it is. I know what it is because I know how the story carries on. But it doesn't look like they knew. Just they're in for some big shock. And he said, "Hashem hu hatoiv be'einav ya'aseh." Now, if we translate this literally, it looks like there's a word missing. I'll translate it. And he said, God, he is the good in his eyes he will do. Now that sentence doesn't make sense, there's a word missing. Again, and he said, God, he is the good in his eyes he will do. I think you have to say the word good twice. It means, and he said, God is good, he will do what is good in his eyes. That means the word good should be in the sentence twice, not once. Doesn't make sense if you only write it once. Because if you make it once, you like this. Hashem hu, Hashem is what? Oh, good. Okay, fine. Let's say the word toiv, Hashem is good. But then the end of the sentence, be'einav yaseh, in his eyes he will do. He will do what? It means there's two verbs, but there aren't two sentences. Right? So I think you have to read the word hatoiv as if it's written twice. Like this. Hashem hu hatoiv, Hashem is good. And therefore, he will do what is good in his eyes. Hashem is all good. So it's true, it's tragic, it's awful, but we have to accept that. God knows what he's doing. Whatever God does is good, and he'll do what is good in his eyes. That's Eli's acceptance. The truth is, the personal curse, he's heard it all already. His son's dying, and his descendants dying young, and the high priest being moved over to a different family. He knows all that. The only new piece is this piece of tragic information, which is not so personal. He doesn't say something personal to him. We'll find out what it is in a second, right? But his acceptance that what God is doing is good is from a national, something that's awful, so bad that all the Jews that hear about it are going to be in shock. He's accepting God knows what he's doing.
Why doesn't Eli try to get to Teshuva? Like, why is he not at least trying these
Maybe he did. Maybe he did. It's not going to help, is it? God said it's not going to help, right? It's not going to help from this point, right? The family is doomed in a certain sense. Okay? Vayigdal Shmuel. Now we go back to the story. Grapei. Continue. Shmuel grew. In the meantime, that means this story didn't happen the next day. We didn't know. It could be a few years later. We don't know when it happened. Some point in the future, this story's going to happen. And when that happens, you'll know that the curse on the house of Eli is in place. Vayigdal Shmuel. Shmuel grew. Continued to grow. We already said that word before. Vashem haya imo. God was with him. What does it mean God was with him? You know, when Yosef was in the house of Potiphar, it's exactly the same expression. Yosef was sold to Potiphar and God was with him. It means that everything he did, he was successful. That's what it says. Everything he did was successful. Okay, now, with Yosef, I think it means his business acumen. Yosef run Potiphar's house, he bought in stuff, sold stuff, and everything run neatly. Shmuel is not really doing that. That's what Shmuel's in the Mishkan. So he's not running anybody's household, but being a prophet, it probably means that people come to him and he would give them advice about what to do with their lives, which school to send their children to, what chavrusa to have, what shidduch to do, what's a good, how should I better my avodas Hashem, and everything he told them, he was dead on. He always gave the best advice. Could even be prophetic advice. Could also be, coming and saying, look, I don't know. I don't know. He could give them advice in business, which was prophetic, which was the stock market's going to crash tomorrow. I don't know what sort of advice we give them. It just says, "V'loi hipil mikol devarav arza." None of his words fell down to the ground. To fall down to the ground means to crash, to go to the stock market. It means unsuccessful. Everything he said stayed up in there, happened. Right? Presumably it means even things that he predicted, not just his advice was good. This expression, his words didn't fall flat on their face. No, it didn't happen. Everything was always good and exciting and perfect, whatever he said.
Can it also imply that people listened to the advice that he gave them?
I guess so. I mean, after a while, at first people said, he was a nice guy. That's what he said. It's rumor got around that he's the guy you want to ask advice from. As it says, "Vayeda kol Yisrael," and all Israel knew. What did they know? Midon, from Don. Where's Don? Anyone know Don?
Shame done.
It's the name of Don, the name of one of the tribes. It was always described in English. In England, you say when you want to describe from the north of England to the south of England, you say from Land's End to John O'Groats. That's what you say. Land's End is the southwest of England. John O'Groats is the northeast of Scotland. That's what you say from the top to the bottom. In Hebrew, you say Midon v'ad Beersheba. Don is up here in the north. It says Don.
So it's Don, not Don, not Dan, like D-O-N or D-A-N for the pronunciation.
I do because I'm Ashkenazi. So it's a comment. Yes, it's Dan,
Okay.
but it should be Don. It's a comment. It's not a pattern. Right?
Okay.
You think you say Dan, it sounds like he's judging. The truth is to say meaning. Right? That's his name. The tribe of Dan, right, is up here. Now originally they were down here. That's why the Tel Aviv bus company is called the Dan Bus Company. Why? Because the tribe of Dan was in two areas. It was here. It's called Gush Dan. But then in the times of after Joshua, they felt this area was too small for them. Wasn't enough. So some of them moved all the way up north and conquered an area here that was sort of empty, and they took it over. And this is called Tel Dan. Tel Dan, the beautiful one of the sources of the Jordan River is up here. Tel Dan. So they were so from Dan till Beersheba. Beersheba is all the way down here. Oh, it's even further off the map. So, here it is. There. That's what it is. This is from the north to the south. From past here is desert. It's still Israel, but it's desert. So we say from Dan till Beersheba, but we mean from the north to the south. So the people from Dan till Beersheba.
What's Azza mean?
Where does it say that? Arza, to the ground. It's from the word Eretz. Eretz is the ground. Arza, the hay at the end is a directional hay, to the land. So none of his words fell to the ground. All Israel knew, Midon, from Don in the north, Vad Beersheba until Beersheba in the south. Ki ne'eman Shmuel, that Shmuel was trustworthy, emunah, faithful. He was faithful, l'navi l'Hashem, as a prophet to God. So how do you know a person's a prophet? You don't know. You don't see God speak to him, but wherever he tells you is going to happen, it happens. He knows what your neshama's about. He knows what you should spend your life doing, you should focus on, who's good for you. All the things that people can't know unless they're prophets, he knew, and therefore that's how the whole of Israel knew that he was a faithful prophet to God.
Isn't there also like a test for prophets to make sure they're not
Correct.
false?
What I just said, that's the test. You ask the prophet to predict something, and it happens.
And they give you do they pick the prediction? You just say like a random prediction and you just ask God.
No. They give you the prediction. If you say, I want you to predict that my team is going to win, no, maybe your team's not going to win. But if he tells your team's not won a match in 6 years, and he tells you tomorrow your team's going to win 6-0. So that
also has to be a prediction that's like very improbable.
Like that. Yeah, it can't be tell you that Manchester United are going to win the league. They've won the league for the last 6 years. That doesn't mean anything. Right? It has to be something which is unreasonable, right? Which is no way you could know unless he was a prophet.
Like it's sunny today, and then I say tomorrow it's going to rain, thunderstorm.
Correct. In the middle of summer.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But in the middle of winter, that wouldn't prove anything. Just means you read the weather forecast.
Okay.
Right? Okay? All right. Vayosef Hashem. And this is interesting passage. God continued or added on. And it added leheira'o, that's the word to appear, to be seen. B'Shiloh, God continued to be seen in Shiloh. And what this means is, you can't see God, right? What it means is, prophetically, this is something that continued, as if Shmuel opened up a stopped pipe. There was a pipe, a conduit for prophecy, which had been closed almost, and that's why he said at the beginning of chapter 3, the prophecy was rare. Shmuel seems to have unblocked this pipe, so that when God started to speak to Shmuel, then it became more proliferous, that other people who were fit for it, not any Tom, Dick and Harry, but those who had trained in the trainings that you need for prophecy, which up to now, even after doing all that, hadn't seemed to. A prophet can train his whole life and still never have prophecy. But in the merit of Shmuel, it had spread around. By Yosef Hashem, so God continued leheira'o b'Shiloh. Why? Ki nigla Hashem, because God had appeared El Shmuel to Shmuel. It said the pasuk explaining why God was now prophecy was more widespread than it had been up to now, because God had appeared El Shmuel b'Shiloh in Shiloh b'dvar Hashem, with the word of God. Now, I told you once that the word Shiloh is sometimes spelled with a hey, sometimes spelled with a vav. He have a pasuk where it's got both in the same pasuk. He says Shiloh twice. Once with a hey, once with a vav. Notice?
Yeah.
So this is fascinating. I haven't seen anyone speak about it. Yeah. It's hard. It could be like I mentioned last time. The word Shiloh, some say the word Shiloh means the town with a hey. With a vav it means the Mishkan. So it could be that the other prophets who got prophecy weren't actually in the Mishkan. So God appeared to them in Shiloh with a hey, because God appeared to Shmuel to Shiloh with a vav. Could be. I don't know. I would guess it's the level of prophecy of Shmuel is great. So remember we mentioned the vav is Kabbalistically, it's the spine, which is a conduit from the brain to the whole of the body. The same if God had a pipe which was blocked and it's now been cleared by Shmuel, so I can understand that the prophecy to Shmuel is described as Shiloh with a vav, because Shmuel is that pipe. Shmuel is the one who cleared that pipe. Everybody else is a regular Shiloh, but Shmuel is the one who cleared that pipe of influence of God. Okay, end of post prayer Gimel. I think we'll stop there and we'll do Perek Dalet tomorrow, please. Tomorrow we'll learn about this tragic event that has been predicted. It's going to happen on the day that the curse starts with the house.
Is it tragic?
Absolutely.